Nordstrom,
Here.
Solomon,
Here.
Roberts, Stroman,
Here.
Armstrong, Jones,
Here.
Lehman, Ham, Evans, Roseland.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is the invocation. That'll be provided tonight by Randy Brock, and following the invocation will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
Praise God. Shall we pray? Father, we thank you so much for being here with us. We would not want to do it without you. So, Lord, we ask your blessing upon every servant that is gathered here in this place. And we ask, Lord God, that your favor would rest upon the city that we love, Rapid City. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, thank you, everyone. Now it's time for the adoption of the agenda, and this is a point where the council members may adopt the agenda as written or make certain alterations. I would suggest a slight alteration, including a proclamation tonight for Stevens High School. But would there be any motions on the floor?
I will second that.
Motion by Armstrong, second by Jones to adopt the agenda. All in favor of adoption of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. All right, folks, I would ask all of the Stevens High athletes, coaches, friends, parents, whoever's here, to come up here and try to fit up here in this space all together. Okay, well, thanks for indulging us tonight. We're here to bring some well-deserved attention to the Rapid City Stevens girls tennis team and the Rapid City boys soccer team. An executive proclamation. Whereas the in and out. No other mic? Okay, this is it. Be motivated and influenced by others, brother. Not the least of which is the spirit and the abilities of our community's young people are grounded in the tireless efforts of coaches, instructors, teachers, and mentors, and support from families, friends, and classmates. And whereas each school year, the talents and skills of our young people take center stage in a variety of athletic fine arts, scholastic, and forensic competitions, much to the delight and entertainment of the residents of our community. And whereas the efforts of our young people in these individual and team competitions and endeavors should be celebrated as they build and develop various life skills, and these young people represent the future community and world. And whereas it's great when the talent, skills, and abilities of our young people receive recognition of these boundaries. the latest examples taking place within the time span of 1 week when Rapid City received statewide recognition when Rapid City Stevens won the state girls tennis title on Saturday, October 8th. And Rapid City Stevens boys won the state boys soccer championship on Saturday, October 15th, culminating outstanding seasons on both the court and the pitch. And whereas the statewide recognition is a tribute to the years of dedication and commitment put in by the athletes, coaches, families, and supporters of the Raiders girls tennis and boys soccer programs. For the Raider girls under the direction of Coach Jason Olson, it's their second consecutive and sixth overall state tennis title. For the boys soccer program under the direction of Coach Jeff Fierro, it's their second state title. And whereas there is always a great sense of gratification and extra feeling of enthusiasm when individuals and teams from West River, especially Rapid City, bring home the hardware and receive recognition with statewide honors and championships, whether those honors are in athletics, fine arts, scholastic, or forensic endeavors. Now therefore, I, Steve Allender, Mayor of Rapid City, do hereby proclaim October 17th, 2022 as Rapid City Stevens Girls Tennis Day, and October 18th, 2022 as Rapid City Stevens Boys Soccer Day in Rapid City, recognizing the team's respective state championships and honoring the players, coaches, and supporters.
Thank you very much. We appreciate this. Congratulations to our soccer team. I know they've been close the last couple of years, and it's just an awesome thing to see it get it done. And the way you guys dominated that, giving up, I think, 2 goals in the tournament. That was awesome. It was impressive for our school. Stevens is a very well-known school for winning state championships, and it had been kind of a while that we had won one. Last year was our first time in 15 years. So this year we kind of had the target on our back, and we returned a strong team, and these girls just were resilient all year long. We went 28-0 in varsity play, and our JV was 31-0. And the last 3 years, these group of seniors over here, they went 81-1, and our JV team was 90-0. And some of these seniors played JV, some of them never did, but it's just a testament to having a strong program. We have 48 girls here, so if the last time we were here at a meeting, we had a lot of tennis people here when we were asking for new courts. So we got as many as we could today, but it's just, we appreciate the honor, and these girls did all the work, and both Coach Chalberg and I just want to thank you guys for letting us be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, is that right? Well, thank you for this moment. Congratulations to the girls tennis team. Thanks for paving the way. They won the weekend before. I can't say enough about these guys and the rest of the guys that aren't here. We started practicing mid-July, tryouts end of July, and we just played our last game on Saturday. It is an exercise in persistence and determination and hard work, and these guys epitomize that. Obviously, they are talented, that you can't win a state championship without that, but you also can't win a state championship without heart and dedication and persistence. So we are super proud of these individuals. I would echo Coach Olson's sentiment about Stevens High School and our accomplishments, whether you're talking academic or fine arts or athletics. It is just a place of excellence, and I'm proud to be part of that community.
And remember, it's your day, so no homework. Okay, back to the agenda. Item number 1 is a presentation from Rockside Ranch. Amy Painter.
Thank you, Council, for having us. Are we going to be able to play the video first?
Look back in there.
Okay.
Mental health, addiction in all its forms, homelessness, incarceration are crushing the hopes and destroying the lives of young men across the country. Crisis often feels like a dead-end road, like there's no way out. But for young men who really want change, Rockside Ranch is a way out. Students come from near and far to live at the ranch for 8 months. While they're here, they focus on sobriety, their mental health, and job and life skills so that when they graduate, they can thrive and work in life. Imagine what it takes in today's world for a young man in his late teens or early 20s to give up a lot of really normal things, like his cell phone, car, and independence, in order to dedicate his full attention to life restoration. It's amazing, and it shows how serious these guys are about changing their lives. Students often tell us that this is the hardest thing they've ever done, and I believe them. Their dedication is our inspiration. They know that they can leave the ranch at any moment. No one is requiring them to be here. So when they choose to get up every morning and put in the incredibly hard work of change, it's unbelievably inspiring and life-transforming. In a sense, Rockside Ranch is a big family. Students have told us time and time again that it is the Rockside family that impacts them more than anything else. And what they're experiencing is the transformational power of the family of God, the body of Christ, the living church, which extends far beyond their time at the ranch. And when their time at the ranch is over, to help with their transition, we launched the Rockside Workforce Program, which provides graduates with safe housing, steady employment, and a loving community. These 3 components are critical for a healthy and balanced life. As these and other new opportunities move forward, it's been amazing to look back, to see how God worked through so many people to bring Rockside Ranch to where it is today. 10 years ago, when we moved on to the ranch in Etna and this idea began to take shape, we dreamed that one day it could be replicated on other ranches in other regions of the country, that it wouldn't just be something happening in one Northern California town, but that other ranches and other communities would adopt the model and the Rockside family would grow and grow. Here we are in our 10th year and we're seeing that happen. We're now partnering with a ranch in South Dakota that is the 2nd Rockside location. And it's only because of God working through His body that the past 10 years were even possible. That includes all of you who gave, who prayed, who volunteered. And looking ahead, we can't wait to see what the next 10 years will hold. And as this family grows, to meet the new faces who will join us in making sure that no matter where a young man is in crisis, they will have the chance to start fresh and restore their lives.
My name is Amy. I'm the Development Director for Rockside Ranch. Our mission is simple: to help young men overcome crisis and thrive in work and life. Crisis looks different to a lot of people. I'm a part of Rockside because it's affected my family personally. Our son, when he was 18, he moved out. He was raised in a Christian home. He started hanging around a friend that introduced him to marijuana, which led to him trying meth. Once my son was addicted to meth, that led him to being homeless and then led him to being suicidal. He told me multiple times, "Mom, you don't know how many times I've put the gun to my mouth." This was devastating to hear. This continued for 4 years. During that time, my husband told me that we needed to prepare ourselves because we were going to have to plan our son's funeral. And the thought of that absolutely ripped my heart out. On Labor Day weekend in 2021, my son was stabbed 3 times and left for dead overnight in a front yard. I rushed my son to the ER, where they bandaged his physical wounds. I told the doctor there was more to this than his physical wounds. That he was also suicidal. My son finally confessed to the doctor that he wanted help. The doctor then admitted him to the Westside Hospital. My son was there for 30 days. At the end of the 30 days, I was told that your son is not good enough on one end of the spectrum, but he's not bad enough on the other. He falls right in the center where a lot of young men fall, through the cracks. And I was told that there was no options in the state of South Dakota for my son to get help. That's when I learned about Rockside Ranch from a friend. On November 7th of 2021, after multiple interviews to make sure my son and the ranch were a good fit for each other, my son flew out to start his life restoration on a ranch in a small town in Etna, California. I am happy to say that on July 24th, 2022, my son graduated the 8-month program. God has used Rockside Ranch to transform him spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. He is a brand new man. Now my son participates in the workforce program. Once a Rockside student graduates, they can then participate in workforce. There's still a level of accountability in the young man's life. They're still able to participate in all of the Rockside events, such as Bible studies, community dinners, weekend activities, game nights, movie nights. Workforce has partnered with local businesses and churches here in Rapid City to offer graduates safe housing, reliable employment, and a loving community. My son has a full-time job working on a ranch just down the road from Rockside Ranch in Etna. He has his own house and is doing incredibly well. I praise God for this. That's why I'm a part of Rockside. You can't argue with the testimony. I know where my son was at before, and I know where he's at now. Rockside is a life changer. The key with Rockside is it's for a young man that wants to change his life. It's not a place where you're mandated to go. It's a place where they want to go because they're ready for life change. I personally understand how living in crisis feels hopeless. I want everyone, parents and young men, to know there is hope. Crisis can be the middle of the story, but it doesn't have to be the end. Today, I just wanted to make everyone aware of Rockside and to let everybody know that there is hope and there is answers out there. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is a good news presentation from Journey Museum. Who needs no introduction.
In case you needed to be woke up really quick there. Troy Kilpatrick from the Journey Museum and Learning Center on behalf of the Museum Alliance of Rapid City, our board of directors. We want to say thank you tonight, and it was cool to see the awards for the Stevens High School kids. Hopefully we can keep some momentum going here. I'm going to see if I have a slideshow so that I can play off of that here in a little bit. 2022, of course, everybody's... 2022, after 2020 and 2021, who knew what was going to happen in 2022? There we go. There's my thank you. We'll get rolling here. Everybody's had an experience from 2020 and 2021, but seriously, thank you on behalf of the Museum Alliance of Rapid City for your continued support of the Journey Museum and Learning Center. We were able to make it through some unprecedented times, as were many, but we had an important year in 2022 to get to, and that was to celebrate 25 years of the museum being open and to mark 50 years since the 1972 flood. So I'm going to kind of walk through the process of how we got to where we are today. First of all, we started off in January. We were flattered to receive an award from Surf Underground for our communication outreach and experiences in science, our educational efforts that we had put forward during the previous years. We'd really have worked hard at adding video, Zoom, video, recording presentations and making that available, and this theme's going to come up over and over again. So we started the year out with this award, and we're pretty excited about that, but it got better. Thank you to Mayor Allender for inviting myself and the Journey to be a part of the 50th Commemoration Committee, and thanks to Daryl Schumacher for a lot of the work that he did there and the team that was formed helped push us to really working on what kind of programs we could bring forward at the museum and during the June 8th and June 9th itself, and that accumulated in an award from the South Dakota Museum Association on excellence in community programming and collaboration. So that's good, but it gets a little better. At the same time, I got a notification from the National Humanities Alliance, and they said, we'd like to come out and talk to you guys. We've been kind of watching what you're doing with programs, and we could maybe help. And so we were really thinking, well, they're going to come help us because, you know, we're a nonprofit. You're always looking for what can happen. And I know our board chair, Mike Alandi, is here. We were all sitting in the room, and as it turned to come out, they were there to tell us that we were doing something very special here in Rapid City, and us along with Charleston and Nogales, Arizona, were being cited as case studies for humanities funding at a national level because of a lot of our efforts in education, in diversity, inclusion, the things that we've been doing at the museum over the course of the past couple of years. And I think that's a really big deal to share because, again, we were sitting there for at least 45 minutes, and Bill Evans, our liaison, was there too, and we said, okay, so what do we need to know? And they said, well, we're from Washington, D.C., and you guys are standing out at a national level, and I want you guys to know that. Without your support, we couldn't do some of those programs. I will email this case study out to all of you guys tomorrow. But again, it's a great feeling for us to be getting this type of recognition. I'm missing a slide here. What I'm about to show you is a 3-minute video. We won the Mountain Plains Museum Association 2022 Leadership and Innovation Award for all of the programming efforts that occurred during June 8th, June 9th, and June 10th. Combinations of concerts, people from the community coming and speaking, former Mayor Don Barnett, live streaming, Zoom programs we hosted. Everything's recorded. But as part of our nomination, when we won Mountain Plains Museum Association, which is a 10-state region, part of what we submitted was this little 3-minute clip that kind of tells the story of all the different things we did, in addition to show all of you the flood exhibit itself. So I'm going to play that.
Performance is entitled Remembrance and Renewal, and it is a musical tribute to the lives lost in the Black Hills flood of 1972, as well as the city's commitment to preserving the public and green spaces of the area since that day.
The 1972 flood was, of course, a tragedy, but as a historian, I firmly believe, kind of at the root of my beliefs as a historian, is that every tragedy also presents an opportunity for those in the present to learn from and to build from. I think that this is the power and the usefulness of history itself, that even from the darkest moments of the human past are offered paths into a better future if we are willing to look for them.
Well, it was 72 on June the 9th, when the rain that fell made the waters rise. Canyon Lake lost its dam that night and took all but higher ground. And you found them on Jackson Boulevard.
Speakers that came forward in this program today, they were unknown to us, completely by surprise, not scripted, anything like that. And
I was just more spooked about possibly finding a body, and opened the door, and there's that mountain goat head floating right there. I didn't know if it was possible for a 15-year-old to have a heart attack, but that about happened.
And all of a sudden, Leonard Swanson, the public works director, a great hero in the long and glorious history of city government in Rapid City. He said, no, we should never sentence the survivors to one more night on the suicidal floodplain. And nobody should go back and live by the creek. And there was a sense then for just a moment of the potential for a little bit of optimism in the middle of this tragedy.
How you took that higher ground. And if I ever learned a thing from my father, it's never fear hell or high water. 'Cause even when there's problems all around, you just look for that higher ground.
So all that content is available for free at journeymuseum.org because it's appropriate to make that available. Special kudos to Alex Massa, who served as a point person for the concert. Andrew Beard, his song right there, Higher Ground, Simpsons Printing, Cody Lear, who helped with videos there. I just want to make sure I'm giving, there's a lot of talented people throughout the community, and we said yes to a lot of collaborations, and that's the essence of why we were recognized for our efforts. Initially, the Journey was not planning to keep the exhibit in place as long as we have, but we still have more stories we want to tell. And I'm going to invite all of you to come to the Journey Museum on Friday afternoons as we continue the flood stories. November 11th is Veterans Day. We want to honor the first responders who were lost during the event itself, and also recognize all the veterans that are in our community. William and Joy Medley, part of the Salvation Army, will have Vanjie O'Neill speaking. They'll be kicking off their Red Bucket Drive. Father William O'Connell. I'll actually have Jim Kenyon from Catholic Social Services. And a program we've never done before is the year after what happened in Rapid City. So that'll be hosted by our historian, researcher Corey Christensen. But again, I'm here to say thank you. We're going to keep working hard to keep the journey moving forward. And my goal tonight is to make sure that hopefully you guys are all proud and want to continue to invest in all the things that we do at the Journey Museum and Learning Center. And I look forward to being your personal host if you'd like to come by someday. So thank you.
Thank you, Troy. How long will the flood exhibit be up at the Journey?
Well, we're having meetings tomorrow. It's going to be up at least through December. There has been talk to perhaps extend it permanently into that space. I'm not sure if it fits in the Adelstein Gallery. We certainly found a good rhythm and did a good job with the storytelling. So that's a good problem for our board. We're doing strategic planning on Thursday as we try to figure out what's the best way to continue to do all of this. So for sure, as it stands today, it'll be through the end of this year, though.
Okay, stand just for one moment. Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation, Troy. I greatly appreciate all the activities that was held during that full week that we did. So it proves to me that the investment that we and the city council members gave to you and the citizens of the taxpayers of Rapid City invested into this program. So if I remember right, it was roughly $50,000 that we provided for you to come up with this program. So I just wanted to applaud you for the efforts. And then lastly is I like the new logo that you have as well with the 25 on the turtle.
Richie, I love to be complimented, but you have to point some of the applause towards Mayor Allender. He managed the committee and the budget, a lot of the efforts there. And a lot of the department heads, I suspect there was a lot of effort that was put in there that went well beyond probably the $50,000 budget that was originally talked about. I know at the museum we kind of quit looking at what we were spending just because it was the right things to do, and I feel like our whole city did that, and so I think everybody deserves credit for that. Mayor Allender is the one who provided the leadership on that.
Thank you for noting that. I appreciate it. Thanks for all your work.
Thank you, Troy. Okay, moving on the agenda, we're going to start general public comment, and this is a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Yeah. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote. One of our members is getting ready to call in here, so there's going to be something come over the microphone that sounds odd. Okay, we have a speaker. First, let's hear from Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't get a chance to chime in, but I just wanted to thank Amy Painter for that great presentation. And I think a lot of us get really concerned for our young people about what do you do if they, and this is not just an issue with, you know, poverty or anything. That is, it's all families of all types are dealing with these situations. And one thing that just really struck me was a lot of times we wonder what we can do. And I think that your presentation really showed us that there's a way that hope still remains. And I wanted to make sure I chimed in just to say that. I think it took a lot of courage to share that story as a parent. I think those of us who've raised kids and we know how precarious it can be at times, the role of active parenting is huge. But we also know that there's a lot of temptations out there and it can happen to anybody. And I certainly know that's true in my family as well. So I just want to say incredible work. I hope nothing but the best moving forward, that you're going to change the lives of young people and that they will be who they were called to be. And so thank you for sharing your story. I know it takes a lot to come up here and share that story, and I did want to make sure that we acknowledge that. And I'm excited, been learning more about it recently, and I'm excited to learn more about it. And so thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for the time, Mr. Mayor.
And our speakers tonight for all the comment periods will have 3 minutes to address the council. You can watch these 3 lights over here, and when the yellow light starts flashing, that means you got about 20 seconds to start finding an ending point. For general public comment, let's hear from Tim Powers.
Yes, as you said, my name is Tim Powers. I'm a resident of Rapid City since the early 60s, about 61, 6 and a half. I actually lived in north of Norwood at Artis and Justin's dairy ranch with my family in a hand house. We was helping them, and my dad worked on the missile sites and everything. So I know from experience how good and how you learn good work ethics at a ranch or a farm. So, and from my past of alcohol and drug abuse, I went through West River Treatment Center back in the late 80s to early 90s, and that kind of environment compared to this kind of environment is so much better for our young men and women, if they're allowed there, you know, to learn new ways to live and not live the worldly way, which the world tries to, yeah, it's okay to do whatever you want. Well, there's repercussions for living whatever way you want. And so I'm all for this. I thank this family for opening up their homes and wanting to educate and guide and help and bring spiritual guidance from our Lord to help them make new decisions, new directions of their life, and get rid of the past. The old is gone, the new has come, so they can really learn better ways to live, and so they can be better men for our future and teach our kids to do the same and get rid of the worldly thoughts and more godly thoughts of how to be a better person. So I thank you for listening to me, and like I say, it made a world of change, and revelation to find out where the root of where we let the devil start leading and the doors open. So when we close that, we can get rid of any attacks from him and go directly to the Lord's guidance. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And that'll close our general public comment period. Moving on now to the non-public hearing items 4 through 27. We'll open the public hearing, the public comment period on these items, and we have a speaker request on item 16 from Holly Wells.
Hi, my name is Holly Wells, and I'm here tonight to contest a $49 charge to my water bill because the water company said I did not get my bill in on time, which I did. So I'm contesting the $49 that I want put back into my account. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and those are the speaker requests for the non-public hearing items, so that we'll close the public comment period. Consent items, items 4 through 26. Would the council like to pull any of these items? Okay, item 16. Any other items to be pulled by council members? If not, then I would entertain a motion to approve the consent items with the exception of item 16. So moved. Second. Motion by Lehman, second by Stroman. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 16, approve request from Holly Wells to refund the $49 fee applied to the utility count on August 24th, 2022. Pat Jones.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I'd like to question the representative from the Finance Office, if I may.
Okay, we'll go to Assistant Finance Director Dave Uhas.
Thank you. Dave, this might be putting you on the spot to be able to answer this, but can you give us any background as to what path this request has traveled that this lady is talking about tonight?
Well, the normal appeal, Dave Uhas, I'm the finance manager for those that I haven't met or don't know me. The normal appeal process is that they come in to the finance department, and then there is an appeal process that goes through the public works department, to where the decisions and the actual appeal is assessed by the Public Works Department, Public Works Director, and the decision made at that level.
Has that taken place yet with this?
It was.
And it was denied at that level?
Denied at that level. But I should let the Public Works Department speak to that.
Okay, thank you. So, Public Works now, if we may, Mayor? Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Councilman Jones. We addressed this at Public Works, and it seems that the bill and the payment crossed in the mail somewhere, so to speak. We're not opposed to alleviating this penalty.
Could you say that again? I couldn't hear you.
Sorry, I'm fighting a little frog in my throat here tonight. You know, we researched it. It came through the process, and through a little more research, it just appears that she had deposited the payment in the box, and it didn't get processed till Tuesday, and it was the same day as the late fee was applied. So it's just a matter of timing, but we're not opposed to alleviating the fines or the penalty.
Was there an official recommendation from Public Works, one way or the other?
I can't answer that directly. I know that at Public Works, Dale addressed it specifically, that he was not opposed to it at that time. So,
I see Councilman Stroman wants to speak. I will yield my time. Thank you. Thank you both for your answers.
Greg Stroman.
Thank you, Mayor. And yes, Councilman Jones, it did come to the Public Works Committee, and it was unanimously approved to waive the fee in this instance because of the way it was explained to us. It essentially, as Mr. Hall said, crossed in the mail, even though she put it in the night deposit box. So we agreed to that, but she still had to bring it to the council, and that's why she's here tonight. Thank you. I yield.
Jason Solomon.
Thank you. I'll make the motion to approve the request to refund the $49 fee.
Okay, second by Lance Lehman. All in favor of approving the request, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Tie goes to the runner. You win. Yes, ma'am. Are you going to just yell at us, or is something that we need to know in order to process your payment?
Well, nobody contacted me. I'm the one that had to do all the legwork. So half of what they said is not true.
I think what they're saying is this, your appeal came to the Public Works Committee where they approved it to come to this meeting.
Go to that. That's what I'm saying. When I called and spoke with the water company, I basically got told to go F myself. Nicely, but that's what I got told.
Okay.
That is ridiculous.
Well, we apologize.
Well,
Okay, moving on, then that takes us through consent. Non-consent item 27. There are no speaker requests on this item. It's under staff items. Hold random drawing for 2 video lottery machine authorizations to allow the successful candidate to apply for on-sale alcohol license with video lottery. Dave Uhas.
I'm going to talk on this real quick.
Heidi.
So we had a deadline of Thursday, October 13th at noon for anyone who wanted to be in the drawing for the 2 additional malt beverage with video lottery designations. We received 56 applications. That list is attached online. They are in order of when they were received, so that's how we kept them numbered. A little over a year ago, we said we did this same process, but we had 6 licenses at that time, and so we decided we were going to do the same lottery website that we used last year, and so Dave is going to go ahead and pull that up, and so it'll appear on the screen who the 2 winners are.
Thank you. What you see on the screen now is, and it's one of the attachments, is the list of the 56 applicants. We're using a random number generator, and in that we're asking it to generate one set with 2 numbers out of a population of 56. So we go down and we say get sets, and there are 2 winners, number 15 and number 39. So we have MG Oil at 210 or 2110 Jackson Boulevard. What was the second one? 39. 39 is again MG Oil at 707 Mountain View Road. Those are the ones selected. Questions?
Okay, any questions for Mr. Uhas?
Thank you.
Acknowledged by Lehman. Second by Stroman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, public hearing items 28 through 31. We'll open the public comment period, and we have some speaker requests for item 31. So remember, again, we have 3 minutes. You can watch these timers up here. First speaker, Faye Swenson.
South Dakota is in the top 4 states for the biggest increases in vehicular homicide in the nation. House Bill 1074 did not pass, as it would cost $1 million over 10 years for the state. If fines were given to those committing vehicular homicide, it would easily pay for this. We need to make those that decide to be intoxicated while driving with any form of alcohol or drugs to be made more accountable for their actions. This bill was going to make vehicular homicide a violent crime. Right now, it's considered nonviolent. Our son Brad, was killed by a drunk and drugged driver on July 31st, 2021, on our 39th wedding anniversary. He died a very violent death, burning up in his car. No one should have to have this kind of a life sentence of heartache while a vehicular homicide driver gets a slap on the hand and continues to live life. I tell you these things as I'm against businesses being able to sell alcohol and marijuana, either medical or recreational, in the same business. Why give someone the opportunity to buy both in the same establishment and get more intoxicated before getting behind the wheel of a vehicle? Please don't let this happen.
Thank you. Next speaker, Laura Blankman.
Hello again. I'm Laura Blankman. Briefly, 25 years in law enforcement in the Maryland, D.C. area. What I find interesting about tonight, the brave woman Amy, who talks about her real experience with drugs and alcohol, not hers but her son's, and how it affected her family, and Faye, who just told you how drugs and alcohol, in both cases marijuana in her case led to her son using meth, and you heard that situation. In Faye's case, you have a person who is drunk behind the wheel and intoxicated and also had been using marijuana and drugs. So as I stated before, why allow alcohol to be sold at a cannabis dispensary? I'm not here to argue medical marijuana, whether it's this or that, but to be able to sell alcohol at the same establishment makes no sense. You guys took this job. You want to help your community, and you want to be brave about it. I know some of you talked about being concerned about being sued. As a police officer, I understand the mayor was a police officer before. We know every day when we go out there, we can be sued. So because I'm worried about being sued, am I not going to run the domestic or go help save somebody's life because I may, in the end, be sued? No, I'm still going to do my job to the best of my abilities. And that's what I ask you guys to do here for our community, maybe even for yourself, so you're not like one of these women that have to deal with having lost a loved one, and lost a loved one in their life for a while to drugs. And you heard he's doing great. So that's good to hear. But as I stated before, every call that I ran in my 25 years, domestic, even homicides, right? Somebody was intoxicated with alcohol and or drugs. So just to have the two mix makes no sense to me. And like I said before, the only reason I can understand somebody who medically wants to help someone with medical marijuana would then want to have an alcohol license is for greed. Like I said, they want to sell the green to get the green, and that's not about helping the community and saving lives. Thank you for your time and this opportunity, and please vote against allowing that alcohol permit.
Thank you. Next speaker is Richard Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm speaking on behalf of Rapid City Cannabis, the applicant in this matter. I'm from Gunderson, Palmer, Nelson, and Ashmore, the law firm just your neighbors here just down the street. I've been there for a little over 3 years. Before that, I was 19 years with the Attorney General's office. I ended up being the chief of the Civil Litigation Division before I came here to GPNA. And I wanted to address a couple issues today with regard to this application. The first being, you know, I understand what they're asking for here. It maybe seems new or maybe novel approach because we've never had a medical cannabis before. But I would submit to this group that it's not a new concept. I mean, we see this every day, and it's become so ubiquitous, we never even think about it. So you ask yourself, where we have a situation where we've got, you know, prescription drugs and the sale of alcohol. Think about every Walgreens you've been into, every Walmart you've been into, even Safeway. This is not a new concept. This is the same thing. It's just a different applicant. And is this different? I would submit to you it is different. Simply because the regulations in place on the medical cannabis industry to prevent alcohol getting into the hands of those 21 or under 21 years of age is far superior at a medical cannabis facility than it is at a Safeway, at a Walmart. And I would like to show you sort of an example of what we got in this situation. If I could run the Elmo. Something else I need to do. I'm going to let that warm up, but I will address it this way. What I've got in front of me here also is the administrative rules and the South Dakota statutes regarding to regulation of medical cannabis. There are 95 sections in state law for those regulations, and I've got about 122 pages here of additional regulations from the Department of Health in Title 44. And I'm not going to read these to you because obviously quite boring, but you can go to the Department of Health's webpage and check those out. What we have on the screen here is a picture of the applicant's business. What we've got here is, this is the front, this will be the front door here. Anybody can come in there and you end up here at this, the check-in station. Nobody can get past this door unless you're age 21 or over. The alcohol that's proposed, the sale will be here from a cooler. Anybody getting in there has to present an ID, has to present a cannabis card. That information is logged into the point of sale system that's sent to the state of South Dakota. There are cameras at each of these locations. So all the individuals that are coming in here to purchase alcohol are going to be logged in the computer, and they're going to be 21 years of age or older. There's additional regulations in this regard. There's been some questions about you know, in this instance, what is a suitable person? What is a suitable location? We know here that this is a zone properly for this license, and what I've got here is about 14 pages that go to the medical cannabis checklist that cover everything from cultivation, manufacture, dispensing. So I'm not going to waste everybody's time with this, but I just wanted to point out a few things where this location cannot be, not within 1,000 feet of a public or private school. And I'm going to skip through all this and get right to just the cannabis stuff, or from the dispensaries. So what do we have here? We've got the point of sale system. We've got the procedures for verifying identification. We've got the point of sale software that goes to the state. We've got the prohibition of 21 years or older. We've got security cameras at all doors. We've got separate locking mechanisms that prevent those aged from under 21 even getting into this area. Those cameras have to have backup systems that protect those recordings. We've got people that they're the background check for who works there, and also procedures for visitor log, checking of identification, issue of badges, and other visitors. So at the end of the day, when we're talking about is this a new concept, it's not. We see this with every Walmart, Walgreens, Safeway. But what we do have here is a system, and if you're looking at prohibiting alcohol getting to the hands of minors, which I believe the alcohol laws are intended to do, this is even a better system to prevent that access. It's simply, through this regulation, it's extremely difficult, far more difficult than what you're going to have at those other locations mentioned. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up, Tonchi Weaver.
Good evening, Council. It's been a while, but I have spoken with a couple of you about this issue before because it does concern me. You know, I don't have a fancy presentation, But what I do have is a lot of years invested in this community. I've raised my family here, my grandkids live here, and I care about what happens in our community. And I think we have to be very mindful of what kind of a signal we send, what kind of messages we send to young people. And, you know, I don't want to get into a rebuttal of what I just heard about how this is just like Walgreens, but it isn't. It isn't, but it is sending a signal of what is acceptable and what isn't. And I've done a lot of research. I'm involved with the organization Protecting South Dakota Kids. And one of the things that really concerns me is the mixture of alcohol and marijuana. And putting both of those things in one establishment sends a signal that they're okay together. And one will, you can Google it yourself. You don't have to believe me, but there are many organizations, and I can give you websites, where you can do actual research, medical research. Some of you have probably already done it. But the effects of marijuana are magnified by the alcohol and vice versa. So there are effects that alcohol has on the body because they work different ways. They're two different drugs. We're always looking for contraindications in prescription drugs. Well, that is a reality in I hate the word recreational because baseball's recreation, drugs aren't, but that's the way it's characterized. And so by putting this together in a nascent establishment, this is a new business. We don't know yet how they're going to conduct themselves according to the law. Their attorney was up here saying that, you know, we have all these rules and regulations. Well, that's great, but we don't know. They don't have a track record yet. So why would you expand the number of things that they can sell that are intoxicants and psychedelics? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Kit Jeffries.
Sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the committee. My name is Kit Jeffries. I represent Dakota Cannabis Consulting. I spoke up in front of you guys plenty times before about what good cannabis policy looks like. One of the things I'd like to just preface with is that the cannabis industry does not want to see cannabis fall into the hands of children, with recreational marijuana being on the ballot this year. I do also want to talk about the rulemaking process. I was at any time any local government, any state government, any county government ever mentioned the words marijuana in any ordinance, state statute, or rule, I was in the room every single time. And I want to specifically hand out this one rule to you guys, which is 4490-0404. There were 892 points of rules and regulations that were submitted to the Department of Health through the rulemaking process, where industry stakeholders had the opportunity to talk about good cannabis policy. Within the good cannabis policy, they implemented this rule which allows the co-location of medical cannabis establishments. That is cultivation, manufacturing, testing, and dispensaries. And even the State Department of Health indicates that a medical cannabis establishment shall have separate means of ingress and egress from any other medical cannabis establishment, except that multiple medical cannabis establishments with common ownership may be co-located if the establishments have lockable, alarmed doors separating activities performed under different licenses. As the good attorney from Gunderson Palmer mentioned, that activity of that licensed malt beverage would be utilized in the same space as the medical cannabis establishment. I think that goes to the intent of what the Department of Health was trying to explain, that even though you are looking at medical cannabis establishments and the different activities performed under those licenses, whether it's cultivation, manufacturing, or retail, I think that the intent of this rule was to cover malt beverage, video lottery, sex shops, amongst a wide variety of other things. I mean, that was definitely brought up in that rulemaking process. Why it is not in there, I am not 100% sure. But I think that this rule does go speak to that intent of the separation of activities performed under each licenses. I'll be around for questions, and thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. That'll close the public comment period, and now on to consent public hearing items, items 28 through 31. Would the council like to pull any of these items off for separate consideration? 31. Any other items to be pulled? Not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent public hearing items with the exception of 31. Motion by Jones, second Roseland. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 31. Rapid City Cannabis, doing business as Rapid City Cannabis for a new retail malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license and retail wine and cider license at 3075 North Plaza Drive, Suite B. This item was continued from the October 3rd meeting. Pat Jones.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I'd like to move to deny the request for this license and keep the floor. If I can get a second, please.
Second by Solomon. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So as this was sent back for review for several weeks, gave everybody a chance to look at it and determine what we believe would be in the best interest of the citizens of our city. And the recommendation that has come forward to us from our legal people, from our planning area and others, is that we should deny this based on the fact that it's not an appropriate location, as the combination of marijuana and beer, wine, et cetera, to be sold under one roof in one place is not appropriate for this location. And so that is what I'm bringing forward, and request that the council deny the application. Thank you.
Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. A few questions either for Vicki Fisher, the Director Fisher, or probably Joel Landine, the City Attorney, probably direct
Okay,
to.
go ahead.
And Joel, I've got several questions, so if you could keep them short for me, please. Did the applicant follow all the rules that we've established?
Yes.
Is this all the rules that we've made up or considered? We passed an ordinance and everything. Did the applicant comply with all the ordinance rules that we put in place?
Yes.
Thank you. And what would happen if we choose to overturn this ruling that we put together as an ordinance?
Well, this isn't about the ordinance. I mean, yeah, ideally you would have, if you didn't want to have alcohol and marijuana sales, you would have prohibited that in the ordinance. But this is an alcohol license, and the two items that you look at are whether or not the location is appropriate and whether or not the applicant is a suitable person. You know, I do want to correct something, frankly, and I put in a request to speak, but we're not recommending, I think there was a misunderstanding. I don't think planning or legal is recommending that you either approve or deny it. Ultimately, the decision whether to approve it or deny it is up to you. If you do deny it, I think the discussion, the advice I've given is that the basis for a denial would be that you don't believe, if you don't like marijuana being sold with alcohol, that the location is not appropriate. And there's case law that talks about that it's factors other than the physical location of the actual building. So you can go beyond the zoning and the land use issues.
Thank you. And then that's what I'm looking for, is a recommendation. I hope somebody will make that motion to be able to defend this if it goes to a lawsuit with your recommendation. So I hopefully the rest of the council members heard that. Thank you. I'll yield.
Need more time, Joel?
Well, I would just say, I mean, the applicant is here with a lawyer. I can't guarantee there's going to be a lawsuit, nor can I guarantee that if you deny it based on the appropriate and the location. I think, you know, can we defend it? Yes.
I think there's case law that supports some of that, but I'm not going to guarantee victory. I mean, it really depends on the facts and what the basis for the facts are that you don't feel selling marijuana with alcohol is appropriate. So, you know, unlike some of our previous ones, it's a little different situation. It's not a conditional use permit. It's an abuse of discretion, so it's a deferential standard to the city. But certainly, in a lawsuit, if the perception is you denied it because you don't like marijuana, that could prove problematic in court. Neither I or Mr. Williams today can tell you what a judge is going to do.
Okay. Greg Stroman.
Thank you, Mayor. May I ask the city attorney a question?
Yes, please.
So what if we just don't think it's good policy, Joel, to have alcohol and cannabis sold on the same premises? We're policymakers here, right? I mean.
Correct. I mean, if you can, to the extent you can articulate why you believe that's a good policy, I think that would be helpful. But yes, I think you could, as I've said, I think you can deny it based on the appropriateness of the location. The question is what happens after that decision.
Thank you. And I think I've heard from some of the people who have testified or given comments here today that I'm relatively sure that I don't believe it's good policy, and I think that I also think that Mr. Jeffries has a valid point, and I've come to, I think all of us, well, maybe we shouldn't all, but all of us could rely upon him as kind of the authority on this as we worked our way through the ordinances. And he's been at the legislature, he's been involved in the rulemaking, and he's pretty convinced, it seems to me, that this was at most an oversight. It was and should be corrected. And I guess if I could, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask Kit to come back up and just take a little bit more of my time to wrap that up. And also, I guess the effect of the lack of state instruction on this at this point. Would you address that, please, Mr. Jeffries?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you. Yeah, I think the one thing that when we look at medical cannabis applications, we always have new things that happen. This would be one of those new things. I would look to the Department of Health for their discretion. I mean, this is something that local governments get to choose the time, place, manner, and number of licenses that are authorized in their jurisdiction. It'd be a question for Joel Landine, because I'm not an attorney, if this falls within the manner of how a medical cannabis establishment operates. But I would definitely look to the South Dakota Department of Health and the state attorney general's office to see what their depiction of what the intent of that rule would be. And I would probably defer to them for further comment.
Thank you. Joel, were you going to?
I will just say my staff did reach out, and we did have a discussion with the Department of Health.
Thank you.
That again, the license in front of you isn't related to the medical cannabis, it's related to the alcohol.
Okay. I yield.
Okay. Pat Jones, 4 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I just want to make one more point very clear. This is not about regulating marijuana shops at this time. This city, this council approved 15 licenses to be in this town. I will use Councilman Stroman's words because they're wise. This is just bad policy, and we're hearing from people in the audience and others that have supported this. Mr. Jeffries, who is representative of the marijuana industry, family members, other people who have had experiences that marijuana and beer, wine, etc., just don't mix. And so that's the direction that I believe this thing is going, and we have ample reason to turn it down. Mr. Landine, our attorney, said we should always add the words, what happens afterwards. We could apply that to every vote that we do, everything every task we assign to one of our departments, everything we do in life. We deal with what happens next. And so we have to have the courage to do the right thing, represent our constituents in a manner that I believe they are asking us to do, and all of those fall into the right thing to do in this, to decline the application. Thank you.
Laura Armstrong.
Thank you, Mayor. This has really been a challenging decision. I was one of the people that Ms. Weaver and I actually talked and had a discussion, and I actually pulled the file. Did anyone else? Went through it, and this gentleman completed all the applications, and they were submitted and approved. We took their check and deposited it. We also had community development look through it, and the memo said, the applicant spoke with us about adding off sale to his medical cannabis dispensary, and after extensive review of the zoning ordinance, the medical cannabis ordinance, and state law, we could find nothing that prohibits the use in conjunction with a dispensary. He can't do on sale, and he can only sell to those customers who have a medical cannabis card, not the general public. There was also a background check on this gentleman, and we had the clear from the PD's office. We have a memo from Chief Hedrick. Looking at his application, this gentleman is over 21. My understanding is anybody who goes into this establishment has to be 21, and anybody buying anything in there has to be 21. Again, I'm not happy about putting this, just dealing with this, but we have to. We don't like big government, right? We had a conversation not too long ago about letting businesses control their own businesses, right? Let the free market decide. I think the words personal responsibility were being floated around. What's to keep this person, a person, from going to this person's establishment and then getting in their car and then driving through a drive-through liquor store? Are we going to put resources, are we going to put police officers to follow these people to make sure that they're not going to get alcohol? Personally, I think having alcohol in this establishment kind of devalues the point of having medical marijuana, and I sympathize with the stories, and I understand where you're coming from, but our job is to uphold these laws. And I agree, this is not a good policy, but we need to do something about this. We'd have to change the policy, but in this situation, this person did everything that they were supposed to do, and then here we are pulling the rug out from underneath them. I'm not happy about it. I don't want to see it happen, but my job is to make sure that we're following the facts and we're following the law, and as it is right now, this gentleman is in compliance. As much as I don't like it, as much as the majority of us might not like it, these are the laws. You can't have it both ways. You can't say we don't want to be big government, but then we're being big government. I just want you all to just think about this. He did everything right. I'm not happy about this. I know I've said that 2 or 3 times about this, but we need, I'll yield.
Jesse Ham.
So the gentleman walked his way through the process, and I'm inclined to agree with Councilman Armstrong on multiple fronts. In this situation, however, I'm not convinced that our decision is entirely big government or small government oriented. And age 21 or more doesn't necessarily decrease the likelihood of that person going out and committing vehicular homicide. I can't make that decision right now. But it does add a level of ease to an individual being able to add 2 drugs that would be probably contraindicated if we were actually in a medical facility. Of course, we're not clinicians. We're not making those decisions on that front. But based on everything I've heard and the information that we have presently, I'm inclined to agree with the concept that the manner of this establishment doesn't fit the way we want our city to move. And so I'm inclined to support the notion that we not allow this. I yield.
Okay. Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll look to the city attorney for advice on making the appropriate motion. If I may make a motion on this, is to deny this application based on appropriate location. If I get a second.
It's still a motion to deny. It's just he's trying a friendly amendment to specify the reason for the denial as a inappropriate location.
Correct. Hopefully you'll consider that as a friendly amendment to deny it based on not being, or let me rephrase that, it is not an appropriate location. So I would go along with the denial, but to assist the city attorneys to help. I've got a second already.
We have a motion then by Mr. Nordstrom, second by Jones.
If I can go to the city attorney for clarification.
Okay.
Because I was basically, Mr. Landine, I was hearing your suggestion is to deny this on appropriate location.
I think if the council's desire is to deny it, the basis for the denial is that it's not an appropriate location, based on the combination of the sale of alcohol and marijuana, how it's going to operate.
Thank you, Mayor. That's the intent of my motion, is to support the city attorney in coming forward with a denial based on appropriate location.
Okay, duly noted. Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I think it's important to draw the distinction that if this was purely for medical cannabis, this would be an appropriate location, but because of the addition of the on-off sale of beer and wine, that combination makes this, in our opinion, if we pass this, not an appropriate location because of that. Is that correct, Mr. Landine?
Well, and just to be clear, nothing you do tonight, I believe that this applicant is already approved for a medical dispensary.
Yeah.
So nothing will change that. It's just whether or not they will be able to sell alcohol in conjunction with the medical dispensary.
So our rationale, if we deny this, is not based on not allowing the medical dispensary, because as Alderman Jones has stated, we have approved the number of licenses, and this location was approved because it met the zoning, and it got through the council on that basis. So we can't say that it's denied tonight purely because it's medical cannabis. But because of the combination with the on-off sale, we don't think that the manner of that, and as a matter of policy, and we will very soon bring a policy forward to make sure we clear up this language for everybody else moving forward. Obviously, we admit this is clunky and could be better, but I want to make sure, Landine, that our justification for this is at least has some legal standing and not a purely emotional one.
There is legal case law that says that the determination of the appropriateness of the location can go beyond the physical location and how it's going to operate and the facts surrounding the business.
Okay, and that is my reason for supporting this denial, is for that very reason. I think it's solid ground to stand on. As policymakers, we get to make that decision, and we should clean it up moving forward, and I hope we will do that soon. Thank you.
Stroman.
May I ask Joel another question?
Yes.
So Councilman Ham brought up the manner of operation also. I mean, is that consumed within the location, as you
Yes.
just said? Okay, then I'm good then. Thank you. Yield.
Okay. It appears the debate is over, and there's a motion on the floor to deny based on the appropriateness of the location. Yes, the motion is to deny, so an aye vote, a yes vote, will be to deny. A no vote will essentially be to approve the license. Understood, everyone? Yes means no, no means yes. No, just one more time. This doesn't happen very often, but if you choose to deny the motion, then you vote aye. If you choose to if you want to disapprove of the motion, you vote no. Essentially is going to approve. If anyone has a question, raise your hand so we know we're getting. Okay. All right. Let's just go to a roll call, please, because the way to do it.
Jones,
Aye.
Lehman,
No.
Solomon,
Aye.
Roseland,
Aye.
Nordstrom,
Aye.
Ham,
Aye.
Stroman, Armstrong. Motion passes to deny 6-2.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And that takes us through the consent public hearing items. And now the last thing on the agenda is the bill list, item 32. Dave Uhas.
Thank you, Mayor. There are no changes to the bill list. We asked the amount approved of $9,922,537.12.
Motion by Solomon to approve. Second by Nordstrom. Pat Jones.
I just wanted to comment about our fill-ins, our bullpen here tonight of all our department heads and things, and some of our bullpen folks would be better than the top dogs in other departments around the state. So we appreciate you all being here and filling in. Thank you for being here and doing a great job for the city. We appreciate you all very much, and you too, Chief Dickey. We appreciate you all too. But the bullpen bunch over there, thank you very much for being here.
Good job, Chief, and good job to the second string in Pat Jones' words. Okay, the motion is to approve the bill list. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Lehman? Second Jones. All in favor say aye. Aye. We're adjourned, everyone. Thank you.